Okay, welcome everybody. Tonight we are going into the joint meeting right from the get-go for Monday, February 13th, 2023. I will call Community Development. Mr. Stewart.
I'll call Finance Order.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. 3 items on the agenda. First one is the approval of the joint meeting minutes from January 9th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Mitchell and seconded by Mr. Schneider.
Question?
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Second item is the matter of a development agreement with ABC Development for infrastructure improvements within the city. Assistant Safety Service Director Calvert.
Good evening. To review the agreement we've drafted in support of the development of Eaton Point, which is south of Chestnut at the corner where the Panera and the mattress firm are. So adjacent to that, there will be a Sheetz and an Aldi's going in. The Aldi's grocery store will be almost 21,000 square feet with an estimated construction cost of $3.5 million and an estimated value of $4.5 million. And it will create 11 new full-time jobs and 9 part-time jobs with an annual payroll of $600,000. The Sheetz gas station will be a little over 6,000 square feet with construction costs of $4.5 million and an estimated value of $6 million, with 18 new full-time jobs and 18 part-time jobs with an annual payroll of approximately $720,000. We are requesting a development agreement which will allow us to enter into a TIF agreement, which will help support the development of infrastructure for that project. So it really be the extension of the road where that will provide access to the Sheetz and Aldi's. So with your permission, we've invited the developer here tonight to give an overview of the project and explain exactly what we're up to.
Okay. That'd be great if they want to come to the microphone with the name and address for the record.
Hi, Greg Slyman with ABC Development.
Bob Achari, ABC Development.
The fact that ABC Development, just please give us an address of the business, please.
3955 Center Road, Brunswick, Ohio.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thanks for spending a few minutes with us, allowing us to spend a few minutes with you today. Colleen's going to bring up the overall site plan. Our ABC Development has been working on this corner for a number of years with the owner. The diagram first. Now, she's going to help me get out the site plan for the Sheetz and the Aldi. This is phase 1 of a multi-phase development here that we're planning and have been working towards with the owner for a number of years. We started this project about 5 years ago, getting started on it, and we'll go through some of the things that we've tried to create on this site. But right now we've worked with the city here to look at the joint development agreement for the road construction and the costs of the infrastructure there. That road we put in with the cul-de-sac to help with traffic, any traffic alleviations that we would need. Now, working there with the neighbors to create a public road, of which that TIF would offset about 40% of the cost, of which the other 55–60% will be paid for by ABC Development for for access for those two users. Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the drawing that you're currently looking at. North is to the right hand, or our right, towards the Center Ridge or Chestnut Ridge. That first parcel is what we're calling Lot 1, approximately 3.1 acres. That houses the Sheetz. Then just south of that And that image isn't really clear, but that is where the Aldi will be. And that's, again, that's 3.1 acres.
Sir, could you just point to where, just so we're clear, everybody's clear?
Yes.
A way to blow that
So,
up.
yeah, that is the Sheets,
Okay,
3.1 acres. Just to the south is the Aldi, about the same size lot, about 3.1. Then that is going to be accessed through the new roadway, Eaton Point Drive, and that's about 1.8 acres. And that is the initial phase one of this project. Now, we've gone through the lot splits, gone through rezoning, design review, we've gone through all the city approvals for this, and we're basically ready. Now, the next image, I think Greg is, yeah, let's see the big one, I guess. As we mentioned, this is phase one, and this is going to be leading into the opening up that entire southeastern corridor as soon as this loads up. Let's get our bearings again. It's toward the lower left-hand side of the drawing. That is the Sheets, Aldi just south of that. Okay, then the roadway's coming in and stopping basically just south of the Aldi store. We currently have under contract 36 acres, and that line is the dark outline that Greg is going around currently. We have been in discussions with the Jacobs Group, who owns the property south of that, and we also have interest from a couple of the larger retailers that we're working on. There's been some traffic studies done, and well, that's basically the overall. Let me stop there and maybe answer any questions that the board or council has.
okay, thank you. At this time, I see Mr. Stewart.
So when was this traffic study done?
There's been a couple of traffic studies done. There was an initial one that we participated in with Manick and Smith. That was done in 2000, I believe it was about 2016. Since then, we did our own traffic study with TSC, and we worked with the city on that. That was done at roughly, I want to say, 2020, and that encompassed the overall development that you're seeing here currently. The result of that traffic study, and we understand the traffic concerns of this intersection currently. What the result was, when this project gets into the next phasing, there will be access on the Route 57. That's just south of where the current Marshall property is, where the storage is. And then eventually, as we move the development toward the east, there'll be a connector to Cletus Road, and that's right along Route 10 there. So there'll be multiple access ways into the overall development. That's going to be about 117 acres when it's fully built out.
This is our overall vision for the property. And this is just the initial phase that we're working on here today, that we asked for the development agreement for.
And to you, Mr. Chair, so as far as the build-out goes, and this is your, with the phasing, I just have concerns about, the traffic impact that, which you had mentioned in your comments. It's been of record, the issues that we've had over there on Chestnut Ridge and on 57 as it goes both north and south, and people hanging in the intersection because they're trying to get into Chestnut Commons development over and through. And then the people who are heading northbound on 57 are just almost, road rage, looking at T-boning people who are turning into the complex. And has the process been started for the entryway on 57 heading, I guess that would be a right-in only then on 57 as it's heading north into this phase, the future phases?
Yeah,
is that in negotiations now?
We have approval from ODOT for right in, right out at that. When as the development continues to the east, that'll eventually be a full access intersection. We don't have the warrants for that currently with just the commercial development. But we have done, as far as the traffic study, we've been working with the city on this now for a few years, understanding what the concerns are. So that once we get the access on the 57, it's our belief that it's going to start to address some of those issues.
Law Director Derry.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So right now, there's an image of a traffic light there at where the connector road would meet State Route 57. So that's, I guess, that's your ideal situation that you represented there at this point?
Correct. Right.
Okay. So ODOT has not approved an actual intersection with a light at this point?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just the access to break in the LA.
Thank you.
When do you anticipate that then? I guess is that all going to be dependent upon this phasing here? I mean, I guess let's see how this is
Yeah, there's a lot of interest, and Greg could speak to that, but phase one is strictly just those the first two buildings, Sheets and Aldi's. As we continue south, you know, that's when basically the next phase would be the access out on the 57, which at that time would probably be a right-in, right-out. We will go back to ODOT to revisit full access, you know, with the city's support. You know, we can probably, you know, hopefully would be optimistic in obtaining that full access.
Okay, Mr. Stewart, thank you. Mrs. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. You've already addressed my concerns. You said that you've gone to ODOT and you have approval for right-in, right-out. But I just can't help thinking the traffic over there is horrendous as it is, and then we just keep piling more stuff in. And there are so many other areas, the west side of Elyria, that have ample space, and I wish that was considered as we take businesses around the city and show them there's ample space on the west side of Elyria, that there are no traffic issues. And I get that you want to be where the traffic is because that's how you're going to make your money, but I just wish that was considered. And as I said, my main concern is going to be horrendous. So, thank you.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I agree with you as far as the retailers, they want the gravity of all the other retailers together. The success of the Walmart and what you did on the north side is really creating the success of that intersection to the detriment to a certain degree. Although when it comes to traffic, we worked very closely with the city engineers to get their approval for this road. So we do have approval from the engineering department to build the road. From their standpoint, we went over safety and those other issues. And it really is going to open up a larger development. And I could talk about this for a long time, and I'm more than happy to talk to any of you guys offline about it, but there's an enormous amount of retailers that are interested in Elyria, and they're just looking for the right place to be. And unfortunately, the gravity's moved away from the mall, and they still want to be able to sell to your constituents, the people who live here, and it is something they're looking for. That's why when we open this up, there's a lot of interest from hardware and large box hardware stores, additional grocery stores that are interested in this area, and it's because of the traffic and the ease of getting in to there. You know, that's an area that's very easy from a large area to get to. And I have, to your point, on the west side of Elyria, I have driven I've driven Elyria with multiple tenants and retailers, and multiple grocery stores, and kind of talked to them about those other opportunities. And and if you look in the development agreement, I'm still working hard to try to bring additional retailers to Elyria and to some of the areas that you're focused on. Right now, the Sheets and the Aldi, they're focused on the traffic that's created at this intersection. And unfortunately, they're not going to consider the western areas at this point. But that, as we continue to make headway for these retailers in your city, it'll just attract more.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, if I may. Once the Aldi's is over there on the, in that area, they're gonna close the Aldi's on the south side. And thus, we've created a food desert for those people over there.
And that's something that the mayor has been very vocal with me about. And that being said, Aldi recently signed their extension for another 5 years. So right now, they're under lease on that site for an additional 5 years, whether this one opens or not, you know? So I don't know what their plan is long-term, but I have talked to multiple grocery chains, more local, that would be interested in backfilling that if it ever became available. But as of right now, Aldi has the control of that box for at least an additional 5 years.
Thank you. That does the people over there no good, but thank you.
Okay, just to be clear, as I see hands go up early in the process, I go in the order I see them. So next one will be Mr. Oswald, then Mr. Lippian, and then Mr. Schneider. So Mr. Oswald, the floor is yours.
Through you, Mr. Chair. On the first rendering, we've seen the street going back from Sheets to Aldi's, and it turned into a cul-de-sac. That cul-de-sac, when you finish, hopefully continuing, that will go away, and the street will continue like you're showing on your second? Okay, that was my first question.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. The next one is, where are we getting our stormwater, sanitary, gas sewer? Where is that coming from? Is it coming from the other side of Chestnut, or is that coming across from 57?
To feed sanitary, there's an existing sanitary line that is on Chestnut Ridge that we have approval from the city to tie into.
And that's going to support what's going to be hopefully a huge mass
Yeah, now,
development.
to your point, that will support Aldi and Sheets. And we've been in talking with the city, even the prior administration, about the trunk line on the other side of Route 57, eventually bringing that over, which would need to be brought over to serve the rest of that, the larger development for sure.
Okay, because I'm glad this is finally happening. I've been talking about it for a while. That's such prime property right there. And yeah, it's going to take a while, and things don't happen really fast, but keep it going. Keep the steam moving.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oswald. Mr. Lippian.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. I echo the concerns of Councilwoman Mitchell. You know, when we look at the economic concentrations in the city, transitioned from downtown to Midway Mall to the Chestnut area over time, they've swept up other businesses with them to catch, like others have noted, that traffic. I also am worried about a food desert. 5 years can go by really fast. I think it would be interesting for the committee to get ahead of this problem and be proactive and engage in some relationships with the owners of the Aldi's building in the 5th Ward, and also not to wait for the Aldi's to close, if that's what's going to happen after 5 years, but also to regularly engage in new food service businesses that could set up in the 5th Ward to get ahead of that problem before it comes. So that's one thing. And this is the sort of thing that is proactivity versus reactivity. You know, I think about the Friendly's building in the 1st Ward off at East Broad Street. I've got calls placed to the owners of that building trying to find, somebody that's interested in it. So I appreciate the centers of economic activity, and I also echo my colleagues' concerns. We have to consider the wards that might be impacted by the shifting of economic activity.
Thank you, Mr. Lippian. Mr. Schneider.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Can you switch to the second slide, please? On this one, I had a question. Where the Aldi and the Sheets are, there's an orange and a purple building to the east of that. Is that considered part of phase one?
No, that'll be a later phase.
Okay.
And that's actually behind the existing Nash property.
Okay. And is the Sheets a right in, right out? That would be the corner, the east corner where it curves by where it says Chestnut. Is that a right in and right out?
No, that's full access. And
that's full access?
Yeah, and we align that with the bank parcel across the street. That was actually at the city's request.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Are there any other questions, concerns? Mr. Lippian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. Just in relation to this area, I guess this is a question for Councilman Corbin. Councilman Corbin, is there still interest? I heard at some point that there was interest in a restaurant being set up on the corner of East Broad and Chestnut over there in the land that's currently for sale. Is that still something that's in the works?
If I may, through you, Mr. Chair, I heard from a source that did not wish to be identified that was a possibility. This was maybe 6 months ago, along with the same lining. When the street proposals repair came out in the Chronicle, I've received about a dozen telephone calls, and part of it concerned Abby. Part of it also concerned, I had 2 or 3 calls from constituents, do not repair Chestnut Ridge. In other words, they were trying to keep the traffic, because it's so bad, to get rid of it. But to answer Mr. Lippian, I have not heard anything in about 6 months on that issue.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember traffic being a concern as well in regards to that issue.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Davis.
Through you, Chair. So the traffic study, 2016 versus 2023, and then you did your own. And is there any way we can get another traffic study, a real traffic study that's not your own? Because in the past, we have noticed when you do your own, something is missing from it. So Director Calvert, is there any way that we can get a real traffic study on this project?
I actually would have to defer to the engineering department on that. So they typically are the ones that request and review all traffic studies and participate in them. So that is something I would have to defer to them on getting an additional traffic study.
Through you, Chair, with the timeline, I just think we should.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Davis. Seeing that the city engineer is in the audience, are you able to come up and address that topic?
Good evening, through you, Mr. Chair. The last traffic study that was done, that was procured by the developer, was by TMS, which is an engineering firm that does traffic studies. So I would state that the traffic study is an actual traffic study. Is it necessary to update the traffic study at this point? I don't know. That may be maybe an option, but the timing of the previous one, utilizing previous data from, let's see, it would have been in like 2019. I would say that was probably pretty close to today's activity. But it's something that could be looked into.
Through you, Chair.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Since then, we have added a car wash and other activities over there since 2019. That car wash sits on the corner of Chestnut and Route 57. So that's a moving thing over there now versus when 2019. This just came along. So you're adding things, but how is that flowing?
If you're looking for us to do an entire, to update the traffic study to incorporate that entire corridor and intersection area, you're correct. That business was not there at the time this traffic study was put into place, and I don't recall if that other intersection that was brought up earlier than would be the northwest corner of 57 and Chestnut, was not included as far as anticipated build out of that property either.
Thank you. Mr. Tolet?
Through you, Mr. Chair. In 2019, though, also at the same time, the Reeser Parkway wasn't there, which is a relief outlet for that area. So to me, it would seem that what we lost with the car wash, we more than gained for in the back, I don't know what to call it, parkway. Would you agree with that?
That's a good point, Mr. Tolet.
Was that roadway taken into account in that study?
That roadway was actually built in 2020 and completed at the end of 2020, so no.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's, taking that into account, your study should show that that's going to relieve the traffic. And if it wasn't taken into account in this recent study that was done by TMS engineers, then that's just adding one more issue to it.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So Mr. Tolet brought up the Reeser Parkway. There's all that land back there. I guess this is a rhetorical question, but why is that not considered? It's like we are just jamming everything right on that corner. And the thought of a right out onto 57 with no stoplight scares the hell out of me, because they fly down 57 and people are going to be pulling out and there are going to be accidents. It's just waiting to happen. And just to clarify, I am not against development in the city. I think it's a great thing. And I'd love to see the city moving forward, but we've got to be smart about it. And when I say the west side, I was not referring to the mall. I'm talking about the West Ridge area, the Murray Park area, the Murray Ridge area. There's all kind of land over there that's available. And I know the traffic is not there. I get that. But let's promote it. Let's sell it. It is available, and I'd love to see development come in that area, as would everybody that lives over there. There's no grocery store over there. If we need a grocery store, we've got to go to the mall. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Schneider?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I would say that since this master site plan has been revealed to us, that we should probably consider another traffic study, because we know what the future holds for this area.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Before I was on council, I was coming to the meetings, and I sat behind a guy that we were talking about development at the time, and it might have been about the Reeser Connector Road. And at that time, I happened to talk to the guy and said, well, who are you? He says, well, I'm the guy that comes out and does the studies when you have problems, And I said, oh, and he goes, when I come out, you got a problem, but it's a good problem because you got growth. And we got to figure out how we can get that growth, to be, so it's not a problem. But when that was all going on, he said what's going to happen is with the Reeser Road that was coming out on to Sugar Ridge, says now the people are going to go to the next exit. But you can't forecast everything. And that same thing with the question out there on 254 when you're coming in Abbey Road to go to the college, they did that 2 times because they thought that they had it figured right on the head, and they ended up having to put another turning road in there. So in a sense, you can't forecast everything, and I'm with you. You want to be safe and you want to try to figure out as many options to make sure that we don't have issues. But I think that if we do it right, you could do study after study after study, and we could still forecast wrong. Okay, so if we plan on a possibility that we're hoping we're going to get a lot of growth and a lot of good businesses, if you got the Jacobs Group, you're going to end up with another exchange. What did they do over there in Avon when they did all that property? They ended up getting a serious interchange over there. So if that's a company that's got some big pockets, they could figure out to possibly get a actual intersection coming out onto 57. So I guess I want it to move forward because, of course, I want development to happen. I want it to happen safely, but like I said, we can do study after study, you know, and we still could not hit the target correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. Mr. Lippian.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I agree with Councilman Oswald. My inclination is to move forward with a cautionary tale that we need to begin planning and considering the ways that this is going to impact not just other wards, but the traffic in that area. But I think if the traffic study didn't include, as Councilman Tollett mentioned, didn't include the Reeser Point crossing area, that means that the outlook of the traffic forecast would likely be better than the report states because we do have that additional street, and that does provide relief. I just know personally, I travel it in the morning on my way to the fitness center, and it actually gets me to where I need to go faster than going the Chestnut Ridge route. And if more traffic starts flowing down the Reeser Point crossing because of the Aldis and additional businesses, it's possible that that will then attract businesses to set up shop on Reeser Point crossing, which I think would be good for the area. So I agree with Councilman Tollett. Caveats obviously are on the table. There's things that we want to make sure we do properly, but I'm inclined to support this today.
Thank you, Mr. Lippian. Are there any more questions?
If I can, Mr. Callahan, in regards to the TMS study that was performed, what issues did they find with regards to the study or concerns?
Well, the issues were obviously the volume, but the study focused on the solutions to the issues. And those solutions were initially the right in, right out on Route 57 for the Phase 2 work. But then eventually, in the Cletus Road connector actually was not in that original study for TMS. But there's no question once Phase 2 proceeds, we're going to have to revisit traffic study for that, which would include the Reeser connector, car wash, and any other development that happens.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sarah.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I guess one more of a comment than anything. You know, we go to, if anybody here has been to Avon Commons, that traffic's horrific too. But the people keep going and going and going. And the building just keeps going up and up and up. I don't know that there's any way to get around this if it's going to be developed. Hopefully they do get that traffic light put in sooner than later, which brings me to my question as far as what kind of timeline are we looking at for Phase 1 and then potentially Phase 2?
The Phase 1 construction is planning to start in the beginning of March for the road. And the Phase 2, it's going to take some time. That's probably going to be minimum of 36 months up to 60 months out because there is some infrastructure issues related specifically to sewer that need to be, there needs to be significant investment. So to create that significant investment, we're going to have to create some very, very strong demand to put the dollars in behind that to increase the sewer flow there. So there's some things that are holding back that further development, but we think that this is a prime economic driver for your city. I mean, when we got involved with this in 2016, I think, or around there, that was in Eaton Township, and we worked with the city and the former mayor to bring that into the city of Elyria, specifically because we knew that getting into the city of Elyria will help us develop this the proper way. And so we took that leap of faith back then. And some of the problems that you have over there is because there's Elyria on one side and Eaton on the other, and it really made a lot more sense to us to annex this, and we would like to continue to annex additional properties into Elyria if that's something that the city is interested in.
Okay. Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I've been saying this all along, but 57, 480, Chestnut Ridge, Durkee Road. Is that all eaten then, or is that something that we're going to have to try to obtain that also? Or is this all, like right now annexed? What, as far as that property, is that something that we'll be able to gobble up or not?
The property that we annexed is this whole 36 acres here.
Mm-hmm.
So this property is all annexed into the city. Now, as we continue to add those parcels, we have an agreement in theory in written, and we have a great relationship with Jacobs. They're ready to go with us. And then we have some additional parcels that are kind of end parcels of the property when they put 10 in. That's primarily, we would just continue, our hope would be to continue to build off of what we've already annexed.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm too excited. I can't wait for it to start happening. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Tolet.
Through you, and this is more of a comment. I'm a huge Sheetz fan. Number one, they're one of the greatest retailers in the country right now for C-store development. Number two, they're on the cutting edge for electric charging stations, which we lack sorely in the community. And as much, whether you like it or believe in it or not, it's coming, it's here. And Sheetz has put a lot of effort and influence into their retail stores to support that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Mayor Whitfield.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of things I'd like to share. First, it's been a great discussion. I'm glad I was able to kind of listen to everybody's thoughts. And unfortunately, a lot of these things we've had discussions about. So it's good to hear some of the same concerns we've shared with the developers. I just want to make sure folks also recognize that this is what we consider to be a safe first step to this development. It wasn't overkill in doing the whole thing. It's getting some momentum, demonstrating our interest as a city in seeing this develop, demonstrating from the developer their investment and willing to help us develop this space. In regards to the food access piece, as Greg mentioned, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. As someone who's been involved in food justice in my prior life, this, addressing food deserts is important to me. We had a food desert already. We have multiple food deserts in the city today that we need to address. And a part of this agreement has the goodwill effort for them to assist us with those food desert efforts. And we have an announcement that will be coming here soon on a partnership to help us address that as well. So again, the discussion was rich. I'm so glad you brought up the Avon example, Councilman Sarah, because yes, we all drive out there to Avon Commons and deal with the traffic there. And these are growing pains. We drive to Crocker, we drive to Avon, but one of the things the residents keep saying is we want to keep our money in Elyria. We want to be able to shop in Elyria. And this provides us that opportunity. And one of the things Greg and I will be doing as well is doing a little bit of education of how these retailers choose their location. I think it's really unique because I'm often trying to fight and push for them to go to a certain location, but it's really a data-driven process that it's tough. But I think when we can get creative in ways to incentivize, where we want to see development. So I think there is a model out there, but I'm going to be doing something with Greg, interviewing him so that other folks can kind of learn behind the scenes how these retailers choose locations. But those are just a couple comments. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mayor.
I was going to make one final comment.
Okay.
And Ms. Mitchell said it best. We're not against the economic development of our city. We know this is a prime piece of property that's going to happen over and through there eventually. But with reference to, because I work in Avon, in regards to Detroit Road over and through, they have multiple lanes over there and they're still congested. This is really one straight lane on Chestnut Ridge, one left turn on Chestnut going into the complex. So this is not multiple lanes heading in two directions. And I know there was a study back down in 2016 about with trying to widen the road and putting in a roundabout or considering those Michigan lefts and what those were there. I just have major concerns about it. I think this is a great opportunity here, I get it, but I just have concerns about the traffic in the short term in regards to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my question is to the Councilman Stewart. So I think I share in your concerns about the big macro vision we're looking at here in terms of if we were to try to do this without the right in, right out, or full intersection, it would be chaotic. And that's why we thought it was strategic to just start with these two projects that wouldn't kind of overwhelm the system. And at the same time, I didn't mention, which we should have mentioned, Dawn, maybe you did earlier, that we've put in a capital request to hopefully get an earmark to build the sewer infrastructure so that the rest of it, did you mention that already? To try to get the sewer infrastructure built, because that also can't grow anymore because of the sewer capacity. So it's kind of stuck in the growth that it's in now until we build a new sewer. So I feel like it's really safe because one, we're stuck until we get a sewer, and two, there's only these two developments happening. But I think it demonstrates to the folks we're advocating to in Columbus and DC that says, hey, we believe this is a growth potential for the city. It shows that we're bought into it, but it also, I think, still protects the city. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. I'll just add a few comments, and then we're going to put this out to a vote. I think tonight we've had a very healthy discussion. I think all council members had excellent questions. There was a lot of give and take. But I think the most important thing is I believe that the developers listen to us. They listen to our concerns. And we listen to what they said. So they know we're uneasy with possible traffic issues out there. But I think they heard us loud and clear that we want to do the right thing and we don't want to have problems. So that being said, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a development agreement with Eaton Point LLC. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a said agreement. Can I get a motion through community development?
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Oswald and seconded by Mr. Lippian.
Call for the question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get a motion from Finance?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sarah, second by Mr. Snyder. Is there any further discussion? I will make that discussion point. At this time, I'm going to vote no until I can gather more information regarding the study from TMS engineers, and reevaluate it when this goes to full council on the 21st. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Nay. Motion carried.
Okay, one more item for community development and finance is the matter of renewing the lease agreement with Rafa Academy, 700 Gulf Road, for the Summer Safety Town Program. Parks Director Reardon.
Thank you, Chair, through you. So this is basically the same exact agreement as we did last year, but we did change the dates to reflect the dates of Safety Town this year. So we will be holding Safety Town, obviously if this is approved, at Rafa Academy again. Great partnership, perfect location as far as the inside space that we're able to use, and then obviously the actual Safety Town that is, still outside. So this will be for a year, another year, 1 year agreement.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. We have considered the matter of renewing the lease with Rafa Academy for the 2023 Summer Safety Town Program. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a said lease agreement with Rafa Academy for Safety Town Program. Can I get a motion through community development?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schneider, seconded by Mr. Oswald.
Call for the question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get a motion from Finance?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Snyder, second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Seeing no further business for community development, I'd accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lippian and seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.
Okay, we're going to continue on with finance. Report.
Okay, that'll be it. Oh.
First item is approval of the finance meeting minutes for January 9th of 2023. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sarah,
Second.
second by Mr. Snyder. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 2, we've considered a matter of a moral claim filed by Robert Martin of 860 Oak Street, Elyria. An ordinance authorizing payment of a moral claim submitted by Robert Martin for damage to his property at 860 Oak Street. Estimated cost for the repairs is $2,500. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sarah,
Second.
second by Mr. Snyder. Law Director Deary.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Just a note, Mr. Martin's claim was for a total amount of $2,500. Due to council rules, my office is capped at approving a maximum amount of $500. We, in fact, did approve that, and we provided information to Mr. Martin if he wished to pursue the moral claim option to have the entire amount approved by council, and that's what brings us here today. Based upon all the information which was supplied, we have no objection to approval of the entire amount that was requested.
Is there anybody here from Mr. Lundy, are you prepared to speak on what happened in regards to why we're here? I know Mr. Martin is here. Mr. Martin, if you want to come up, state your name and address for the record. I just didn't want to, if the administration had wanted to weigh in on it as well, I was going to call you up to speak as well, but go ahead and please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Robert Martin. My address is 860 Oak Street in Elyria, Ohio. Basically, to the skinny, last year, garbage man was picking up my trash. the arm came down and actually crushed the light pole and light at the end of my driveway. I mean, it demolished it. Yeah. So I'm looking at getting that fixed. You know, I have my neighbors asking me, you know, what's going on? And they don't realize that it's a very drawn out process for due process. So I'm here today, hoping that, you know, you guys will allow this. Mr. Williams, that is sitting over there, actually seen the video. I gave him the video of it. So I don't know what more to say.
Well, we haven't seen access of it, so that's why you're here today. So Mr. Williams is behind you. If you want to weigh in on it, Mr. Williams, in regards to what's...
Through you, Chair. So yes, as Mr. Martin has stated, it was our fault. It wasn't intentional. He did provide information, his proper documents, as far as proof of insurance, the estimate, and we got that stuff and we, you know, looked through all of that. He did also have video of the incident, which was quite revealing. And yeah, he's been very cooperative with us. And so it took a little bit of time for the due process. We explained that to him. He's been very patient. And yes, we have no, we can support everything he says. I also spoke with the police department in which a report was made and they verified everything, confirming his report of the incident. And so our recommendation would be, yes, he is, do this justice, and we're supportive of his claim. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further questions? Ms. Davis?
Through you, Chair. So the light pole wasn't Ohio Edison light pole. This is you have a pole in your yard that.
Correct.
I mean, I don't have any pictures before me,
Well,
so that's the reason I'm asking the question.
I didn't want to get into the specifics of the riffraff, but I got to be able to see my vehicles. I have stellar cams up everywhere because things are getting different in 2023. You know, and I just trying to protect my daughter's interest, you know, so when I pass away, that house will go to her. And, you know, that's all it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anybody from the Finance Committee else have any other questions from Finance? Mr. Lippian, who's not on this committee?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. Do we know how this happened? Was this a new driver? You know, what was the incident that helped contribute to this accident?
I don't have any specifics on that. It was an accident, and you know, those do happen. We did, there was conversation. Director Brubaker was handling this previous to his leaving, and he did have a conversation with Mr. I, and they addressed it to the best of how they could, but it was an accident, and it's been addressed in that regard. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Oswald?
I just found, I seen a 3,700 and then I seen a 2,500. So you got a couple estimates, and so thank you. That was it.
Yes, sir, I did.
Yep. Is there any further discussion? Question. So it's what's on the table is a paying for the estimated cost repairs of $2,500.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand.
So right now, there was a motion on the floor before we had the conversation to pay in the amount of $2,500.
Yes, that's all
Okay.
I'm seeking today.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll take care of whatever else.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's a motion, there's a second, there's no more discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Mr. Martin, this will come, Sure. There's a photo that's passed out there around with Mr. Martin's, the damage. Can you make sure that that gets back to the law director for her file? Thank you. All right, let's go on. Continue on with item number 3. We've considered the matter of inactive delinquent public utility accounts, a resolution authorizing said delinquent accounts to be accredited to the Lorraine County Auditor's Office per the attached list. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Davis. Second by Mr. Tolet. Ms. Connor.
Through you, Mr. Chair. On the list are the customers that had bills, final bills. Some of them had past due and the account had been finalized. Or the very last one actually is a multi-unit housing place. So we just need permission to turn these over to the county for liens.
Sure. This is just standard policy over and through. Is there any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
We've considered the matter of amending ordinance 2022-154, Section 2, meter reading agreement with rural Lorraine County Authority. The current meter reading contract rate is $2.35 per read per customer. The new contract rate will be $1 per read per customer. An ordinance authorizing the said amendment, standard emergency is requested due to the contract will expire. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Sarah, second by Mr. Schneider. Ms. Connor.
Okay, back in September, the ordinance number 2022-154 was approved. Section 2 needs to be, what I'm coming forward with is, the funds that it was going to come out of was wastewater pollution control, and actually it needs to be changed to Rural Lorraine County Water Authority Fund. It has its own special fund, not the wastewater fund. Other than that, the ordinance is the same.
Okay, is there any questions in regards to what's been brought here before us, being asked?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Connor. Item number 5, we consider the matter of applying for and accepting, if offered, an asset management grant through the H2 Ohio Initiative Program. In order to authorize the mayor to apply for and accept the said grant, state emergency is requested due to a deadline. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Schneider.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Mr. Jacob.
Through you, Mr. Chair. We got an email asking us to apply for this grant. It came up real short. It's a $10,000 grant to buy equipment for distribution. We're going to monitor hydrant pressure flow, et cetera, in the system. And we've already applied for it because the deadline was last month. And we're asking this to be passed as an emergency.
Okay. Is there any further questions that are coming in regards to what's before us as a committee? If
Call for the
not,
question.
calls for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Jacob. Item number 6, we've considered the matter for the purchase of a new 2023 Case 580 SN backhoe for the Water Distribution Department. and trading in a 2020 backhoe and a 2021 mini loader. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of said equipment, monies are appropriate in the 2023 temporary budget. State of emergency applies due to long lead times. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Schneider. Anybody speaking to regards to this? Mr. Rothgary or is Mr. Williams? Mr. Jacobs, if you would do us the pleasure of kind of filling us in on what's being requested here. Obviously, there's a need.
For you, Mr. Chair. Distribution wants to buy this new backhoe. I believe there's over a year lead time to order it. They're trading in the Super N and a 2021 Case mini loader because the purchase price they're giving them for this used equipment is so high now, and they're going to guarantee the price a year in advance. And Dave has the money in his temporary budget.
Okay, very good. Thank you for coming up and covering for Mr. Rothgary. Any questions in regards to what's being brought before us?
Call for the question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carried. You're going to take the next one too? Item number 7. We've considered the matter of the purchase of a new 2023 Cabelco mini excavator for the Water Distribution Department and trading in a 2015 Case CX 55B. In order to authorize the purchase of said equipment, monies are appropriate in the 2023 temporary budget. State of emergency applies due to the long lead times. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Sarah. Mr. Jacob?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the same scenario applies. Long lead time, at least a year to get the new excavator. The price they're giving them for the equipment they're trading in is a really good price because used equipment, the price is high, and they'll guarantee the price when he actually trades it in a year or so.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Call
Any
for
more
the question.
discussion? Questions become called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Jacob. Item number 8. We've considered the matter of entering into a contract for the sludge disposal at the wastewater pollution control plant, which would be for 1 year with options to renew for 2 additional 1-year terms. In order to authorize the said contract, monies are appropriate at 2023 temporary budget. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sarah, second by Mr. Schneider. Mr. Corzan.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. The final year of our current contract with Lorraine County Landfill expires on August 31st of this year. So we need to go out for bids for the disposal of sludge cake from the wastewater plant. And what we're asking for is what we usually request, a 1-year contract with 2 additional add-on years. That's worked out very well for us so far.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions in regards to what's being proposed by Mr. Corzan?
Call for the question.
Oh, here. Mr. Tolet.
And this is almost a personal question. We didn't outsource this until how long ago? Didn't we haul our own sludge for many years?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we still do. We do all of our own hauling. We have our own semi-cabs and sludge trailers. The only thing that we pay for is the disposal at the landfill.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 9, we've considered the matter of a grant application for the Safe Routes to School program. In order to authorize the mayor to submit an application and accept funds for the said program. Standard emergency applies. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Schneider.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sierra. Ms. McKillips.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. We would like to apply for Safe Routes to School grant. Applications are due March 4th, 2023. I believe it's March 3rd, actually, 2023. We will be applying for the grant utilizing last year's application. We applied last year and we did not receive any grant funds. We'll be taking last year's grant application, making modifications because, one, the limit for the grant this year has been increased from $400,000 to $500,000. And also this year, the program has added work that can be implemented around high schools. So in previous grant applications, work had only been initiated around K through 8 grades, and they've added 9 through 12. This year, we are requesting that the amount not to exceed $500,000. This is a 100% grant, and at this time, we are not asking for any matching funds.
Good. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Lippian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you, Engineer McKillips, for putting this together again. Best of luck as we crack the bottle on this ship before it leaves port, that it will get approved and we can receive that grant. Thoughts for you, Engineer McKillips? Some things that we've done since the last application that might strengthen our hand is definitely the sidewalk program that this committee had approved with community development that enables residents to get their sidewalks repaired. Demonstrating that to the people who are going to be approving these funds will show them that, to use one of Mr. Lundy's favorite terms, we have skin in the game. We've got some programs that are going to assist with what we're already asking for. And also, I know Congresswoman Manning over at the State House had submitted a letter in support of our application, and alas, it arrived after they'd made the decision, but I would encourage you to reach back out to her and see if we can include that in our application as part of our package. It certainly can't hurt.
Very good. Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, Ms. McKillips. Okay, item number 10. There are two pieces of legislation here, or committee reports. We'll do them separately. First one is we've considered the matter of amending ordinance 2023-2 in order to authorizing amending the said ordinance to change the not to exceed amount from $2 million to $2,008,000 for the Cleveland Street project. I'm going to have to remove myself from the conversation. This is in regards to a project that on Cleveland Street that I am involved with due to a conflict of interest. So I'm going to step away. Mr. Tollett, you want to take over for this particular item?
Do you need both or just this one? The other's Broad Street.
Yeah. Okay.
Ms. McKillips, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize, we're bringing this back to committee. These ordinances were passed in January, but due to the wording that it stated not to exceed, we are adding a few more dollars to the loan amounts, and a few more dollars actually is the application and loan fee for the actual loan. So for the Cleveland Street, the original number was $2 million. We're making it $2,008,000. And then for Broad Street, the original number was $944,735. We're rounding it up to $1,006,000.
And it's also not to exceed.
Yes.
And that's the verbiage part of this. Sorry, I didn't mean to rain on your parade.
Yes, no, you're correct.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Through you, Chair. So are we talking about the 2023-02, or are you talking about both of them at the same time? Are we talking about both of them at the Cleveland Street and Broad Street?
Well, I believe there's two pieces of legislation. I'm just happening to speak on both. Both legislations need to be amended because we're adding the loan application and origination fee for both of those to the not to exceed amounts.
Law Director.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So yes, Engineer McKillips she's discussing both at the same time. Each ordinance needs to be amended. There will be two separate pieces of legislation should the committee approve the reports. But the rationale behind the amendments is the same for both. Obviously, there's two separate projects, two separate pieces of legislation, but again, the rationale is the same for both.
Excuse me for 1 second. I'm going to ask a question to our council. I just have, this is. Okay. From this one. Thank you. Okay, I needed to get clarity on that. Mr. Stewart recused himself from this first one, which is 2023-2, which would affect him personally. Just for the record, I wanted to add out there. Is there any more questions? Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. Substitute Chair. Is the cost increase, is that because of the loan, or is it because of more work that the prices went up? Why, or,
The original legislation had a round, well, it wasn't round for East Broad Street, but for Cleveland Street it was $2 million, and because it stated not to exceed, the paperwork for the loan that was submitted had a loan of $2,008,000, which included the application fee. So our legislation needs to match the paperwork that was reviewed with ODOT.
Thanks. Mr. Sarah, did you have a question as well?
No, sir, I was just getting your attention for Mr. Oswald.
Okay. All right. Are there any more questions from the committee?
Call for the question.
All in favor, use a voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, just for clarification, was there a motion?
I don't believe so.
Did you read the committee report and ask for a motion?
I apologize, I did not read the committee
And
report.
also, if the motion, when it happens, does concur, I believe that this is being requested to be an emergency.
An emergency? Okay.
Thank you.
We have considered the matter of amending ordinance number 2023-2 and ordinance authorizing amending the said ordinance to change the not-to-exceed amount from $2 million to $2,008,000 for the Cleveland Street project. Does the motion at this time? Excuse me.
Through you, Mr. Substitute Chair, I just really quickly wanted to make a note. I don't know if Director Pileski or the mayor's mic is on. I just wanted to point out there.
Excuse me. Hi. Mayor, I just want to let you know your mic is on. No? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Never mind then, carry on. Sorry about that.
You're making it tough on me as the substitute chairman.
Sorry. Mr. Chair, you're earning your keep this evening.
That's right. Question's been called.
Call for the question.
I don't think we made a motion yet, have we?
You are correct. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. The question has been called.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I didn't mean to make that so tough on you.
Can you let Mr. Stewart back in?
I am going to.
Emergency?
Oh,
Yes.
yes, it is an emergency.
Emergency. You concur?
Concur.
He concurs.
Does there have to be a concurrence?
No, it was already on.
The audience has offered to bring me up a trophy for that.
Yeah, for the Academy Award? Yeah. Okay, so we okay to go through the next one yet?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll go on to the next one.
Kathy
Yeah. Oh, this one is?
Kathy
Okay.
already talked about both.
Okay,
So
all right.
you need to read it.
Okay. All right. This is the second part of this, item number 10. We've considered the matter of amending ordinance 2023-3. In order to authorizing amending the said ordinance to change the not-to-exceed amount from $944,735 to $1,006,000 for the East Broad Street project. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
I need to, a standard emergency applies for that. Does the motion concur?
Concur.
Does the second? Second does concur. There was discussion, I guess, in the previous, item there. Is there any further discussion?
Call for the question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. So item number 11 is, there's nothing to bring before the committee tonight. Item number 12 is the matter of the 2023 permit appropriations. This is just for discussion only for tonight. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved.
It was moved by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Sarah. Mayor Whitfield.
Thank you, Council President. And first off, I want to thank the Finance Department and all our department heads for the time that we've spent on getting this budget to you all today. We've had a chance to sit with every one of the department heads, spent hours working on this. And we believe the budget we're presenting tonight is a very conservative and fiscally responsible budget. A lot of the major requests that we had related to police, fire, parks, and other services, we didn't include in this budget because we feel like it's most responsible for us to ensure the passage of this levy before we start pursuing any larger projects. So, you know, we're in a really strong financial state right now. We've done a great job managing our budgets. Department heads have done a great job doing more with less while still taking care of the residents. But we need to ensure the passage of this levy to maintain that health. So the budget you see here today is, again, I think the word safe has become another key word for tonight, a safe budget in terms of keeping the city moving forward. But again, there's some major projects that are still on hold until we have more assurance about the future.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Finance Director Pulaski, I know that Assistant Finance Director Farrell is here. Do you want to weigh anything more in regards to, I mean, are all the budgets in? I would guess all the budgets are in, or are we still have a couple out there?
Through you, Mr. Chair, they are all in, but I do have a meeting tomorrow with the Muni Court judges, because as you look on the document on the screen, if you go to the second green column and you go down to the red, those 4 funds that are controlled by Muni Court, the department request is too much. It's over the amount available to appropriate, so I have to address those issues with the judges tomorrow. Typically, to take care of them, we'll transfer money from one of their other Muni Court, usually the Muni Court Security Fund, and transfer cash into those other funds, and then I can raise my revenue estimates, and that'll eliminate the over appropriation figures. I'd like to thank the mayor and his staff for working with us so diligently over this. As we all know, the budget is not an easy document to prepare. You take a look at all them funds up there. The department heads have one department to take care of and watch over, and my department, along with the mayor's department, have to make sure that there's funds available in all these funds to take care of all the operations of the city. So we do have a couple of changes to make. I believe there was a couple of trucks that were ordered and received, and they were not. I think the purchase orders were actually closed. They were purchase orders from 2021, so we got to add that back in. And we've been approved, as you know, for additional ARPA funding for the police department. So we are going to create a separate department in the ARPA fund to account for that grant. And I believe that's as a 2-year grant. I think it goes by the same guidelines as our ARPA money. This is money that's coming from the state, their share of the ARPA. So we got to add that in yet. And then I guess the discussion will have to turn eventually to how everybody wants to spend the remaining ARPA funds that aren't appropriated, which right now I believe is almost $7 million unappropriated right now. Can you point that out, John? $6 million, yeah, 6.9. So.
What's available with issue 6?
Issue 6, I believe, is 1.5, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, no, about a little under $1 million.
Oh, I got it. I see it. All right.
995.
Yep. With reference to the 2.7 million, Mr. Pulaski, or to the mayor, what is the guidelines? I know that Chief Pelka was up here, just so that we can kind of get our arms around that again. Can you explain that $2.7 million grant?
For sure. So just a refresher, you know, this grant was for community violence prevention, and it was a retention and recruitment grant, where part of the grant was to provide incentives to recruit police officers to our force, and the other portion was to provide and also the salary for those new folks, up to 12 officers, and then the other was for retention of officers. So there was a signing or a retention bonus for folks that would stay on, and so that's the other portion. But again, the main focus is on community violence prevention was the purpose of the grant.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Tolet?
Through you, Mr. Chair. And community, preventing community violence. So that 2.7 could, in theory, be used to hire 12 officers and pay for them for a period of 2 years. Is that accurate? Is that what you just said? Just so I understand.
Yes, that's correct. So I believe the grant guidelines show about 2.2 million going toward wages and bonuses, and 400,000. There you have it.
Oh, okay.
350,000, I think, or 410,000 for equipment. And
shrink it down.
yeah, so if these guidelines are the same as ours, all payroll related expenses have to be used up by the end of 2024. Anything under contract for purchase of capital goods, supplies, what have you, have to be encumbered by the end of 2024 and spent by the end of 2026.
So that could include their vests, things like that from this program.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm not sure what they're going to use the 400,000 for, but yes, it could include vests.
Vests, cameras, those
Yeah.
type thing. Okay.
Mr. Tolet?
Mr. Farrell, could you bring up the original sheet that you have up? That you had up? Nope, not that. Yes, that's it. I apologize. I have to slide this a little closer. In the ARPA money, it's showing now $6,969,562. Going back into third quarter of 2020, there was, I believe, 8.8 million unencumbered. If I'm doing my quick head math, 2 million is appropriated already in the new budget. Is that accurate?
Through you, Chairman. Yes, in the temporary, there was carryover purchase orders for some of these items, and so in the latest review, it's kind of dark over here, so I don't know if I can read all what I got in front of me, but the
revenue replacement, possibly?
Yeah, the 5.5 in total, that's in the left-hand green column. Actually, that's an old sheet there. That's right.
Hey, if you pull up page 9 of the budget by department, we can show them what's proposed in this so far.
Yeah, let me see if I had that one.
Page 8 and page 9.
Mm-hmm.
So while John's pulling it up, Chairman, if I could mention some of the stuff that I have in front of me. So for this year, new allocation, we requested 1.5 million go toward revenue replacement for fire, 1.5 million revenue replacement go towards police. So those two add up to $3 million of American Rescue Plan dollars. And then we had carryover balances, which you'll see here in a little bit, which were some of the encumbrances from last year. We also carried over the home beautification program, $250,000. That should be coming before you all, that program, shortly. And miscellaneous general government, which again is kind of a catch-all that helps strengthen our general fund. So in total, you can see that, and then Parks and Rec as well. We carried over some of Parks and Rec from last year as well, because we allocated $250, but they did not spend their entire allocation.
On one screen. Apartments.
Okay.
So there's your 5513 is this number. Broken out.
Into each individual there.
Particular funds. Although this was updated late Friday, so,
Just so I'm clear, and I apologize again, after the 1.5 to police and fire, there's 6, excuse me, I lost it again.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So there could, I think we have to discuss also in the document before you, we also put in $1 million for, as we did last year, for revenue replacement sanitation. We were discussing that with the mayor, whether we want to keep that in there or not, but of course, council has to weigh in on that as well. But if that were to come out, then the amount available to appropriate would be bumped up to $7.9 million.
And through you, Chairman, the sanitation discussion we're having is really around, if we're able to put resources into sanitation, can we lower the sewer rate for some of the residents? So Councilwoman Davis and I kind of sat down and ran some numbers on what it would cost to make, we have the homestead program, but to do something for seniors who are on fixed income so that their water rates could be reduced, or their water bill could be reduced, their utility bill could be reduced. And so that $1 million, we think, is the number that'll help, get there, but that's why I thought we'd pull this out until we're able to fully present that whole package to you.
Mr. Chairman?
All right, Mr. Slate, go ahead.
Through you.
Just make it.
Was the $1.5 million included in sanitation for the 3 new trucks that they need?
Not to my knowledge, no. There's just $1 million in there right now.
Okay.
So again, this is for discussion. This is what we have before you. I think council and the administration have to weigh in and determine where to go from here with ARPA.
And again, Chairman, our stance was those major purchases, we told departments, hold off, we need to make sure this levy gets passed, and then we can put things back on the table in terms of major purchases, because that money may be needed to keep the city running.
Ms. Davis?
Through you, Chair. Mayor, the discussion for the sanitation, I see it's 1.5 mil on here that you're showing. So for to help the seniors, to help the water department, so we can keep the sanitation down for the seniors. So is it going to be, is this going to come from the ARPA fund so we can do this for the seniors, to have this program roll out for the seniors?
Through you, Chairman, yes, that was the plan, was to allocate the $1 million. Again, we want to tighten up and make sure it is $1 million, or it could be, 800,000 when we run the numbers. And we kind of ran it based off a model looking at if there was 5,000 seniors who signed up for the program, it would be an opt-in program that they would have to call and say, I want to opt into this program. And there's not a lot of room on water because water's already there, but there's already a fixed cost that our residents pay before they turn a faucet on or flush a toilet, and that's the number we think we can get down for folks.
When will you be able to share that with us?
Probably, well, first I want to, get through this initial part of the budget because to me that's somewhat of an add-on. So I would hope to get it to you in the next 30 to 45 days because we're going to have to create a whole new program. It's not just like we can, approve. It's got to go through a lot of hoops for that.
Right. Mr. Tolet?
Through you. Another issue that we need to strongly discuss, in my opinion, and this is strictly from the finance department, is fire department. If we were to order a new aerial today, it wouldn't be here for approximately close to 3 years, making our existing aerial 19 years old, roughly 4 years past its longevity time. So I think that's something we have to be extremely careful with based on public safety in dragging out. So I'd really like us to discuss that. Not tonight, we don't have to do it tonight, but more in detail. That truck is roughly 1.8 to 1.9 million.
Right.
And it's something that, and especially with potential growth coming up in the city, that we have a bright future. We need to be prepared for that. So.
But does anybody have any more questions to the administration, finance director, with what's kind of just been brought before us today? Again, it's just discussion only. It's been a lot of work that's been put into it. Still have a long way to go. We're close, but, again, it's very fluid once this does pass. But right now, we're more, Mr. Pileski.
Through you, Mr. Chair, so we have another finance meeting, I guess, on the 27th? I think.
Yes.
So, as you know, the budget has to be passed by the end of March. So, we either shoot for the first or the second council meetings in March, so however you guys want to do it, but we have this month to get through the discussion in the committee, and then I would say move on to council. The first meeting would be ideal, but if not, second meeting.
No. I think we'll have it pretty much, I would hope, have it pretty much
And
finalized then.
Of course, you can always call and ask questions.
Sure.
And a lot to digest, in one evening, so.
Again,
But I do have a meeting with the judges tomorrow to try to figure out how we're gonna handle these, 4 of their special funds and straighten them out, so.
Okay. Is there any further discussion in regards to the budget that's here before us, just to talk about it anymore? All right.
Yeah, Council President, I just had
Yes, Mayor?
one other thing, just in terms of when we talk about these kind of major projects. So we heard one is the fire apparatus. We need to really be exploring the need for a fire station on the southeast quadrant of town, the central maintenance garage, a new pool for parks, a police evidence building. We think there's still a discussion need to be had around Oakwood. So we have a number of major things that we need to make some decisions on. But we thought, again, this was a safe budget to keep the city going for while we start to deliberate how we pay for these things, because we also have some creative ways outside of just using the ARPA. We've talked about the bonding capacity. We talked about issue 6. And there's a number of creative ways we can get these done. So we just want to get this done and then start that kind of broader discussion.
All right, very good. Anything more? Okay, very good. There's nothing more before this committee. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sayers, second by Mr. Schneider. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
How many times?
Sounded determined to do something there. Sounded determined to do something
I
there.
know.
Is Yost been out there?
How many times do you keep saying no?